This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, we've got a ton to unpack. These two big names done with WWE. With two people leaving, this WWE champ is coming back, and this AEW star sounds like he made it official. That's just some of what we got in store later on in the show, so you're going to want to stick around. Of course, we're going to take a look at what's going on in WWE. We've got to break down what's going on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. We had a pay-per-view here in the Motor City that both the Doc and myself attended, so we're going to get into the results of all of that. We're going to break that entire thing down. Doc, how you doing, bud? I want to just start here. I want to get your reaction to the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam. I think you and I see this pay-per-view just a little bit different, and I think we have a different reaction to it. And I want to let you kind of kick this off, and I want to see kind of where you're at with it, because I think I'm going to be the negative Nancy on this show when it comes to this SummerSlam.
Yeah. Well, listen, remember, you and I recorded last week, and I put out there, get ready to be disappointed creatively. That's what WWE does. They've conditioned you to know going into events, I was not going to be creatively satisfied with some of the big stuff. Obviously, we would have all loved to pop and cream our pants if The Rock would have showed up, if a lot more surprises would have happened, but it didn't happen. So last week's podcast, I set the table so that you could be positive. For me, I went into it with the mindset, I want to scream my head off when the music plays. I want to soak in the atmosphere of being with 60,000 wrestling fans. And the added benefit that now I get is I got two young ones that took it in that way for the first time. And they loved it. They're not into creativeness and the what doesn't make sense. I just, for me, wanted to pop for LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, sing along with Gunther and Seth Rollins, and soak it all in and stand for 5 minutes when Roman took his sweet-ass time to get to the ring. I thought Jay's entrance was interactive, really getting the crowd hyped at the point where, you thought, okay, let's go. So for me, all I wanted was creatively LA Knight to win the Battle Royal. It happened. It popped. So in that sense, I was satisfied. But yeah, it was an ordeal, and the older you get, you're like, oh my God, the hour wait, it was good in that we talked to some wrestling fans to kill the time, but it was just a mob scene downtown to get there. And boy, I'll say this, and I think I talked to a couple people before we recorded. Look, Triple H, bring back the hour start at 7, put a match like Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in the beginning at 7:05. Let the people that are just kind of mulling around get into whatever the fuck that was, because you killed the crowd vibe with a match that was, look, in the end, somebody's got to tell these creative people, scripted MMA matches don't work in a fake wrestling ring. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So for me, I walked out happy. I was thrilled. I took it all in. I absorbed it all. The kids right away, it's like, uh-oh, because they sat down and right away had to go to the bathroom right after the first match. I'm like, oh, God. If this is going to be a pee-pee fest, we got to go up 25 flights of stairs here, and it is rough. But luckily what happened was we got to get to the top and see the Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes entrances, so I got them on tape from the high top vantage point. Seeing the crowd, I screamed my head off, and then they were great. They didn't get up the rest of the time. We got our food. We got everything situated early. But I'll say this. For big events like that, you got to eat beforehand, because you're going to waste 25 minutes just standing in line. Luckily, we did all that beforehand. Got to meet up with my guy, Jock, see his lovely significant other, got to take the photos and live up to our expectations of really catching up at SummerSlam. But for me, my attitude was go in happy, enjoy the scene, because for me, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam, the big three in Detroit I've now seen. The only thing left for me in the biggest company in the world is to see the Royal Rumble. live in Detroit, and it's probably going to happen. So for me, I took it in that way, and I just absolutely loved having LA Knight there because he's one of the biggest stars now in the company.
And folks, this is where me and my partner are completely different. As smart as Doc is, and as realistic as he can be, and as educated of a man as he is sometimes incredibly simple. And he had simple expectations for this pay-per-view. He had simple expectations going into one of the biggest pay-per-views for the biggest wrestling company in the world. I, on the other hand, expected more. I wanted more. And I think that's where I was let down. There was a lot of this card where I was left in my seat. I was bored. There were parts of this wrestling card where I was just left more confused and with less answers than I had going in. And I think you and I are pretty smart when it comes to wrestling. There were things on this card that I just couldn't believe were on this card and were being shown. There were things that were done at this pay-per-view that frustrated me, honestly, just downright. Like you said, bring back that hour, that first hour. You could have crammed that 8-minute Shayna Baszler Ronda Rousey match, which sucked the life out of the arena. You could have crammed that in there. You could have had the LA Knight Battle Royal be the thing that really kicked everything off, because we're going to get into it, but that was for nothing. Like, they didn't win anything. It was just a match to have LA Knight get over, and it was a match to sell Slim Jims. That's all it was. So you end up basically getting us in the arena at 6:30. I think you got there a little bit earlier, and then we don't end up getting out till what, 12:30? I mean, it was
man,
crazy, man. And like, honestly, some of these matches weren't given enough time to breathe, and then some of these matches might have been given a little too much time to breathe. So it was weird. I think that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. I think we're going to get into these results here because there was a lot going on. And look, they kicked the show off with Logan Paul and Ricochet. It was an 18-minute match. This was the best match of the night, if you ask me. In my opinion, this match was the best match of the night, purely from what you got in the ring, from the pacing, from what you got out of this match. This was the best match. After this, I felt like lots of this show grinded to a halt. What did you think of Logan Paul and Ricochet? And am I wrong saying it was the best match of the night?
Yeah, it was exciting, man. I thought that, obviously playing up that Logan was a heel, I thought that they did a great job in the ring. Now the big spot viral moment really I don't think happened, but in the end, no. I just thought that it was a professional match that did a good job to highlight two characters that I think really, really wanted to impress the crowd, and it was, I think, the perfect match to start the card. 18 minutes, maybe you could have trimmed out 4 minutes.
For sure, and I agree with you 100%. And look, this match had no story going into it, which is why I think a lot of the rest of this card was so disappointing. This like the story that was attached to this was so loose, and it looked like it was written on the back of an open envelope, and they just kind of threw stuff together over the course of a couple of weeks. There wasn't much there. Now you get into a story, or you get into a match that has a lot of story in Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Mind you, we still don't know why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes, which I think is so frustrating, because when this match ended, I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, we still don't know why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes. Like, I still don't understand. And look, this was a Brock Lesnar match. It was suplex. It was, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to throw you out of the ring. I'm going to beat you up. He beat him up for 17 minutes. The ending is what saved this. Brock went off script. I'm going to talk about this later on. Brock goes off script and walks over, shakes Cody Rhodes' hands, and basically puts him over, says, this is the guy. He got Brock's blessing in round 3 of whatever they were fighting over. Brock said, this is the guy. He's the one. Brock essentially turns babyface. Cody gets the adulation from Brock Lesnar, and that's what saved this match, because this match was really boring. This match, they're like, it's a Cody Rhodes match, so the highest moment of it is him coming out and everybody singing, but Brock going off script helps this along, and you have a little bit of a better memory of it, because overall, there wasn't much to write home about this match. It was just Cody getting pounded in. Then you go to the LA Knight match. LA Knight won the Battle Royal. All right. Did we really have anything that we were fighting for? No. LA Knight winning Obviously, the right call. But this was just there to get Slim Jims over. That was all it was there for. And Slim Jim came out and basically said as much. They're like, we're incredibly happy. Fantastic. The right guy won. We can't complain. It's cool. LA Knight and his is one of the most over thing. If you were walking through any of the concourses at Ford Field, by the time you got back to your seat, your ears rang from everybody screaming, yeah. It was kind of cool. It was a really nice moment. This leads us to our Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey match. And this sucked. This was horrible. I was telling my girlfriend's parents, because her dad's into wrestling, even though he doesn't really know it. I was telling her parents about this, and I was like, yeah, she's like, well, didn't Ronda Rousey fight? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it was a horrible match. She's like, what do you mean it was horrible? I was like, it was a scripted MMA match. And I don't know why WWE tries these. Like, there's no, like, MMA and WWE are different. You go to a WWE event and you're basically suspending disbelief. You know what you're getting. You're buying in. You're walking up to the counter and you're saying, yes, I'm going to pretend like this is a real fight. I know you guys are going to go do real moves, but I'm going to pretend like you guys really hate each other and you're going to do real things that are going to injure each other and beat each other up, and we're going to have a contest. Like, you are suspending all this disbelief. When you do it as an MMA match, MMA is real life. Like, these guys are really punching each other. These guys are really putting each other in submission moves that will and can hurt each other. This is the style that WWE tries to portray. There are things that are missing from a real MMA fight, and there's a lot of MMA out there. If we didn't have MMA like it is now, this could work. If we had MMA like we had when I was a small child, and you could really only get it on like some underground stuff, or they would have the strongman competitions where you would basically get in a ring and you guys would just bare knuckle box each other. If they still had those things going on, those things were very prevalent when I was a child, like back in the 80s and very early 90s. This is before pride fighting started getting shown. If they still had that, this could work. We don't have that anymore. We've got like 3 shows on television that are attached to UFC. We've got UFC and we've got WWE merged together. This stuff doesn't work. What I will say is Shayna Baszler had a legit black eye. Shayna Baszler's face looked like it got put through a meat grinder. I'm happy Shayna Baszler won, but this match sucked. The crowd hated it. They chanted, "This sucks." And it was uncomfortable to watch just because it was sloppy and it wasn't good. Which then gets us to Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. And I know both you and I were very excited for this match. I thought this was a very good match, but I don't think it lived up to the expectation. Did this match live up to what you thought this match was going to be? Because I think we both thought it was going to be 2 big-ass slabs of meat just taking it out on each other.
Yeah, it was weird in that it just had a feel of a match that was going to center around some chops and things like that. It didn't have like the basically, and it was crazy too because I think maybe coming on the heels of what we saw, it was crazy because I don't know if you saw in your section, about 50 people got up and went to piss before the Ronda match. It was kind of tabbed as
that was the pee break. The guy sitting next to me were like, all right, cool, this is a pee break, let's go. And like all 6 of the dudes who were to my right got up and left. Yeah. 3 people to my left got up and left.
50 people did that. It was crazy to see, and it would have been a well-timed thing to do at that point. So that's what I think hurt the Gunther match as well.
You know, you and I talk about it all the time, and you have a really good propensity of calling it. You're like, this is a piss break match. And like, you will just say it, and you will say it dead nuts, and it'll like, the words will leave your lips, and they will be cold. But you know what you're talking about. This is a piss break match. This was the piss break match. Everybody got up to go pee. I was like one of the only people in my section or in my row that sat there and watched this whole thing, and I just shook my head the entire time. I think when this match was going on was when Tim Anderson was getting knocked out in the baseball game. I ended up pulling up the baseball game to watch Tim Anderson get knocked out 4 times and then share it with Alyssa, who watched it 3 more times. Like, that's where this match had you. This match was ungodly boring. The Shayna Baszler Ronda Rousey match sucked. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And that's what kind of, and I think the Gunther match just kind of struggled because of the weight of the really big expectations, because Sheamus and the Mix has had great matches with both of those two. Mm-hmm. The match that we saw at Clash at the Castle with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. You thought these two could put on a great match, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't the spectacular event with all the false finishes and stuff like that. I just think that, you know what it is, and this is the part of WWE they got to do a better job of. In the end, you never really believed that Drew was ever going to win this match, ever once, from the time it was announced till the time he walked to the ring. So when that happens, it just for whatever reason, during the course of a match, it makes it tougher to believe and suspend disbelief that this was going to be anything other than another coronation of Gunther moving forward. And that's what it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. And look, when I go into a match, I told you this last week, if you can get me believing that the underdog is going to win the match, you did your job. You got me hooked. And that's kind of what we got with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. Now, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, look, we just came off of a low, like a really low, and then we have a match that didn't really live up to the expectations. So going into Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, we were all just kind of like, all right, what are we going to get here? You were kind of in this malaise. Now, this match started incredibly slow. And there were points where I was like, I'm so bored with the beginning of this match. But as this match continued on and the story started to develop and they started to tell you the story in the ring, I bought in. I thought this could have went at least another 10, 15 minutes. And I was hooked. There were points where I thought Finn Balor was going to actually win this match. There were multiple times where I stood up and I was cheering, and then Seth Rollins kicks out at 3, and I'm grabbing. I got what is it, stun cobra or whatever, where I got my hands over my head, and I'm just like, I can't believe he kicked out of that. This match was so well done, and this was the one match on this card thus far that I feel like you could have given it more time. If you would have moved Shayna Baszler in the Battle Royal, you could have given this match a few more minutes, and it would have been well worth it, because this match was rewarding. This was a really, really good match. I loved this match. I thought Seth Rollins, Finn Balor was match of the night, to be honest with you. And we haven't even got to the main events. Now, there was a special moment that took place after this match that we're going to talk about. But for me, this was the match of the night. And I guess I wouldn't expect anything less because it's Seth Rollins and it's Finn Balor. But Finn Balor and Seth Rollins got me to believe that Finn Balor was going to win this match. And it wasn't one time. It was multiple times through the course of this match. What did you think of Seth Rollins, Finn Balor? And did you buy in? Because I bought in, like I said.
Yeah, it was great, dude. I loved that. I think the way in which those two really fit, and they've benefited from having matches. I mean, the Raw I went to back 4 or 5 years ago features Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. So it's just two individuals that are at the height of their game. They understand ring psychology. They understand the way in which this has got to be told. And then also, too, the involvement of the Judgment Day, I thought was perfect because you plant the seed of, hey, is Damian Priest going to cash in, which I think everybody in the arena thought was going to happen. But in the end, it costs Finn Balor the opportunity to win it. And I think that's where the difference was when you juxtapose that with what happened in the Drew match. There was a chance you thought, you know what, they could give this to Finn, and it would make sense. You know, you could have then a rivalry. You could, if you wanted to tell that story, you could have had Finn win it, and then the next feud for Seth Rollins is getting back at Damian Priest for costing him the opportunity, and then you could have went a different direction. But it didn't happen. But I just thought that it was well done and well produced to have Finn Balor handle his business and still be believable with a loss, but having Seth Rollins walk away with the title and really come away stronger with another great pay-per-view match. And it's always great because that's kind of the old school heel and face, where the heels do heel things, but in the end, if the face is going to go over, it's going to have to be because the heel does something so dumb that it costs them the opportunity to be great. And that's kind of how old school wrestling works, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, and look, fantastic match, which then leads to, I don't know how anticipated this match was, but this was one of your main events. And I expect a lot from Bianca Belair. I expect a lot from Asuka. I don't necessarily like Charlotte, but Charlotte is one of the greatest female performers to ever do it. All right? These ladies gave us something. I don't really have the words to tell you what they gave us because this was not good. With the three of them and the caliber of the women that were in this match, this felt clunky, this felt chunky, this felt like it did not work. And it was for whatever reason, whether they were going through the motions, whether a triple threat match is sometimes just junk, and that's might have been what this was. Maybe the chemistry that they have just wore off, or maybe the chemistry that they have just doesn't work with the three of them in the ring. but this did not work. This was one of the more poor matches on the card, and this one got over 20 minutes. So this was a long time. Now, the Bianca spot where Bianca goes over and it looks like she blows her knee out, I bought into that. I thought she was really hurt. Me and the girlfriend were talking. Me and the guy next to me were talking. I was like, I think she's really hurt. And you could see the referee at certain points on where this happened, where this injury happened. I had to watch on the Jumbotron or the big screen at Ford Field because I could not see down on that side of the ring. And it looked like the referee went up over her head or over his head and put the X up. So like I was like, I think they put the X up. Like, I'm buying in now, right? Like, she's hurt. Everybody kind of comes down. You got medical attending to her. And she's trying to walk. And my girlfriend's like, what is she trying to walk? Just carry her. If she's really hurt, carry her. And it was kind of at that moment you started to realize, like, she's not really hurt. She gets back in the ring. She's the one who ends up defeating Asuka and Charlotte. She's got Asuka in what looks like might be, if I remember correctly, the figure eight, or maybe it was a sharpshooter. And then you've got Asuka who comes in and sprays the mist. Next thing you know, Bianca's rolling out with the championship, and it couldn't get over fast enough. What were your thoughts on this triple threat match? Because what happens after this was pretty cool. And what happens after this, and that was the whole setup. They gave you a big old plate of shit to give you a steak at the end. What was your thought on just the triple threat match? Because the triple threat match to me felt so disjointed.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is where the issue comes in with women in their place in wrestling, where these are the three biggest stars in the women's side of the field there. So you look at it and you say, these are the biggest superstars. So the match has to be crisp. And you have Charlotte Flair almost basically miss a target. And it was, in the end, there was some lack of execution on certain spots. And it sucks. It is a gamble. It's always, that's why they call it high-risk maneuvers. But basically, the match, to me, had the expectation of this could be one of the best matches of the night. And it wasn't. And it wasn't. So that's where they fell in regards to, and largely it's Charlotte, because it's ring rust. I mean, that's what you could chalk it up to, because she has the innate ability, and this is where it stinks, where she takes these months off all the time. And you can't just come back and then come in and try to jump off the top rope and be spectacular. It just was clunky at times, and it suffered because of it. And I think, too, in that, and that's what sucks about 24-hour wrestling news, is that everybody throws out everything. I didn't believe the Randy Orton news. I didn't believe, I would have, I put The Rock coming out as a dream scenario. I was like, well, that would be something crazy that would happen. But I think that once you recognize this is a three-way match, you pretty much knew what was going to happen next. And that kind of was like, well, it's cool to see it, but there was no surprise factor because it was just trending up in this direction for a long time, and maybe it would have benefited from a different swerve.
Yeah, and the swerve you're talking about is Io Sky coming out, cashing in her money in the bank briefcase. This match, or this part of the match, lasted only 8 seconds. I thought this was one of the coolest spots of the night. This usually when anything with WWE is in Detroit, there is always a big surprise. There is always a big moment. And to be honest with you, Io Sky defeating Bianca Belair didn't really feel like it was like the biggest moment of this night, but it didn't really feel like it was a big moment. You go back kind of through the pantheon of different things. Stone Cold Steve Austin driving the Zamboni to the ring. You go through, you look at Shane McMahon returning. Like you've had these ultimate highs, these moments that we remember forever, that you can just say something like that, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Us looking back in 5-10 years, are we going to be like, yeah, you remember when Io Sky cashed in? It's just not going to hit that high. Like, it's just not going to be that moment. But this was the coolest moment of the night, like the coolest spot of the night. So let that kind of tell you where this was with this pay-per-view. The expectations were oh so high. Like, we thought we were going to get Roman Reigns. We thought Randy Orton might make an appearance. These were things that were discussed prior to, and these were things that were getting leaked out. We thought maybe Rikishi would show up, which would be cool for our main event. We got none of that. We got absolutely none of that. And I think that is kind of where some of that bitter taste ends up in my mouth, and where you had a bit of a better time, because you knew exactly what I'm talking about. Us looking back in 5-10 years, are we going to be like, yeah, you remember when Io Sky cashed in? It's just not going to hit that high. Like, it's just not going to be that moment. But this was the coolest moment of the night. So let that kind of tell you where this was with this pay-per-view. The expectations were oh so high. Like, we thought we were going to get Roman Reigns. We thought Randy Orton might make an appearance. These were things that were discussed prior to, and these were things that were getting leaked out. We thought maybe Rikishi would show up, which would be cool for our main event. We got none of that. We got absolutely none of that. And I think that is kind of where some of that bitter taste ends up in my mouth, and where you had a bit of a better time, because your expectations were set so low and mine were set so high.
But I got a question then. I got a question though. But isn't it the way you almost have to look at it? Because I know it's the event of the summer. I know it has the feel of WrestleMania, but it is the number. I would say right now, fairly assessing it, it's the number 3 in the big 4. It's WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, because it sets forth who's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania, and then it's it's SummerSlam and Survivor Series. And I don't know what, I know Detroit typically deserves bigger moments and stuff like that, but you got to remember some of the biggest moments in wrestling history have occurred in Detroit, with Shane McMahon returning with one of the biggest pops of all time. You had WrestleMania 3. You have a lot of great memories. You had the Hell in a Cell, which created a moment with Shane McMahon jumping off a cage. You've had moments, and I just think that I know it stinks, and it's crazy too because the price is significantly outrageous for an event like that. So I understand that, but I just think WWE's conditioned you to creatively say, look, you just got to go enjoy the atmosphere, because creatively, I would say, cause out of the last 50 pay-per-views that we've reviewed together, I would say 47 of them we've left scratching our head going, man, that was creatively unsatisfying. But when you just change your mind and say, okay, let's just open our mind to not worry about what we want, because it sets up the cognitive bias, it's kind of like a movie. You can always go, well, this movie should have had this, and this movie should have had this ending. Lately, I just go, okay, I'm just going to watch this show, and what it tells me is what it tells me. It is what it is. And yes, you are absolutely right in your assessment. It is simplistic, but in the world of creativeness, it is so hard to deliver because they're doing so many shows. It's just so hard, so that when they do deliver, like at a WrestleMania or when there's a great show, it really sticks out. But yeah, it just does suck because you're paying good hard-earned money to go, and you just wish you would have got like something just a little bit bigger, and you wish it basically had the feel of like, and it sucks, but I think it's fair to say, and Finn Balor did say it on an interview, it's just another match for these people. It didn't feel like this was something that was end-all, be-all. It just felt like Detroit was another stop on the way to Sunday before Minnesota and Wisconsin, and this is our stop, and we got to do it, and that's the feel it had. It didn't have that feel of like, this is the most pressing thing in the history of the world. It didn't have that collective feel of like, if there were never to be a show again, that this would be our lasting stamp. It just felt like, okay, this is another show we got to put together with 8 matches. Let's get in, get out, so we can set up what we got for Monday, which is going to set forth the next path for the next few months. And that's what sucks in the corporate world where they're running 200 shows a year. It did have a feel of just another show. And you're right.
I think you are absolutely correct. But like, I go back and I look, Money in the Bank. I left feeling pretty satisfied. I thought Money in the Bank, I was pretty excited for. Night of Champions, I was pretty excited for that one.
Yeah.
You go to Backlash. Backlash, I was pretty excited for. And then you go all the way back to WrestleMania. I was excited for that. So like, you look at the last 4 pay-per-views, I feel like they did a really good job of leaving you and you being excited, you being happy. This was one of the most attended pay-per-views this year. The only thing that rivals it currently is WrestleMania. WrestleMania night 1 came in at just under 80,500. Night 2 came in over 81,000, right? We had over 59,000 people fill Ford Field. You could take the last 3 pay-per-views, put them together, and you're still not attaining that number. And then you go ahead and you give us what you gave us. That's where kind of my frustration lies, because you've done such a good job leaving us with cliffhangers and leaving us with stuff where we walk away and we're like, that was really good. Like, even if you're upset initially, because there are times where I will initially be upset after a pay-per-view. And then I'll talk with you and Kenny, and I'll sit there and I'll let it ruminate for a day. I'll let it ruminate for 2 days. I'm a whole week removed, and I'm still upset that I paid money to go to this event.
Yeah,
I'm a week removed, and I'm still upset that I wasted my time going down to Detroit, going down to Ford Field to attend this. Now, was it a spectacle? Yes. Was it fun? I had a good time. My girlfriend is great to do things with. She's awesome. I love seeing you, and I love seeing your kids. Your kids are usually the highlight of whatever it is that I've got going on when I get to see them. I think they're fantastic. I love your kids. I think they are great. So those moments I won't ever be able to get back, and those are the highlights for me. What I got in the ring, what I paid to see, not really the highlight for me, which then brings me to the main event, right? So now we go to the main event, and Jey Uso comes out. And when Jey Uso came out, I turned to my girlfriend, and I was like, he is now a star.
Yes.
He has arisen. He has made it. The crowd was so into him and was so hyped for him. The moment he climbed on top of the ring ropes and he started moving his hands up and down, and the crowd did it in unison. Nobody skipped a beat.
Wow.
Everybody knew their role, and everybody played a part. All 59,160 people in one arena knew their role, knew their part, and just with Jey Uso, that place was bumping. That place was rocking. There was an energy and electricity when he came out. It was awesome. Like I said, I turned to her and I was like, he's made. He is a star now. He is the guy. Like, he's not Roman Reigns, but he is the guy. Like, this is the dude. So going into it, that was awesome. That was another special moment, right? You had a really good match with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. Io Sky coming out was kind of cool. This was a very special moment. Seeing Jey Uso with the crowd, it was freaking awesome. Roman Reigns then takes 5 minutes, and I think it was like 40 seconds-ish. We both took the over. We both lost on that. Roman Reigns' entrance was cool. It was good. It was really good. But then you get into the match, and this match,
plotting too
at
slow.
no point,
Yeah, too slow.
Yes. At no point did you buy into Jey Uso winning this match, right? You go back to the Sami Zayn match. We both knew Sami Zayn wasn't winning. We talked about it. But there were points where you thought Sami Zayn was going to win. You thought there was a chance. In this match, they just beat down Jey. Jey got beat down, and then at the last moment, he gets hot, and he starts working Roman, and then all of a sudden, shit hits the fan when Jimmy comes out and pulls him out of the ring and basically leaves him to die at Roman's hands. And if you go back and you really look at what this match was, what was this match? They said tribal combat. Did you get any definition of what tribal combat was going to be? All this was a fancy name. They put lipstick on a pig, and they basically gave you a no DQ match. That was all this was. There was nothing tribal combat about this. You could have brought in some of the elders, like we said. Thought Rikishi was going to be there. Was not. You thought you could do. You have a freaking boat set up for a Viking match. You could have did something with spears and shields, and you did none of that. You gave us nothing. You put lipstick on a pig, and then you sold it to us. This match, to me, was probably the height of frustration because, like I said, at no point did I buy into Jey. And going to the ring, I was like, this dude is a star. Did not buy in through any of this match. And then at the end of the match, I didn't even get out of my seat. Like when they counted 3 for Roman Reigns, I sat in my seat. And then I continued to sit in my seat for another 15 minutes, just confused and befuddled. And just like, I don't even know what is going on right now. I was so numb. I was so dumbstruck. And I just needed moments to put stuff together. I didn't really snap out of that. And mind you, I had to go sit in a parking lot to get my car out so I could drive home. I had to go sit in a parking lot for 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I was numb until I ended up getting off of 94 at Bernier. And then I was kind of like, all right, put it away. Like you just basically ruminated on it for over an hour. Like, what'd you figure out? And I was like, I didn't figure out anything. I got to watch SmackDown now, which I guess is what their main, where they want you to go.
Right.
But like, I was so frustrated by this match. It just pissed me off. What did you think of this match? Were you left as confused as I was? What was your big takeaway? Because, bro, I was so upset leaving this pay-per-view. I was so mad and frustrated.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. Everybody was like, huh? Like, he started the feud. Like, what? Like, everybody was just really confused. And it was basically the worst option of the bunch to try and do. I mean, literally sometimes, and I just think too, I just wish maybe sometimes these WWE production meetings, when they actually go over what's going on, sometimes less is more. You know, everybody's expecting a surprise. Everybody's expecting it. I just think the story would have been, if it was me sitting around, I got my water, I got my fruit punch, got my Diet Coke, and I'm twiddling my thumbs and I'm twirling in the chair. And I'm like, you know what, guys? This is SummerSlam. Let's just have Jay have like 9 opportunities to win this and get really close. And yeah, we start off slow. And this match had the feel of like how Hulk Hogan would wrestle, where he'd do 2 moves and then stand there and get the reaction of the crowd. And I know Roman's an attraction and the work rate is going to slow down as he gets older and tries to extend his career. But there was a lot of pauses, but it did build up to the crescendo of the high spot with the table and having that. But I would have twirled my chair and I would have said, you know what, guys? The story of this match is Jay being the closest he's ever been to tasting success and the agony. It's not about Roman. Roman's the star. Roman gets the first 5 minutes, but Jay gets the last, where he's trying everything, all his moves, all his brother's moves, all Sikoa's moves, all the moves that he knows, like at the cusp of the belief that he can win this, and it's so close, and Roman keeps kicking out. Roman keeps trying. Roman just doesn't give up, and you just see it really should have shifted to have the moment be focused on Jay. And I would have said less is more. You don't need, like, in the end, and this is what, like, I don't understand. It's like they don't understand that you have put on 200 shows where 140 of them have had some outside interference and surprises. I just think this one, the surprise would have been a nice 30-minute match where Jay is at the precipice of winning, and at the end, he's just befuddled that this is how you elevate Roman too, where the ending is Corey Graves going, despite everything that Jay had, despite being inches away from being the Tribal Combat Champion, he can't overtake the man that's held the title for 1,000 days. What's next for Jay? Would have been so much better than just having another interference with his brother. And I know you need to take it in a different direction, but I hate to say it, because up until probably WrestleMania when Cody lost, people have been loving the bloodline, but it peaked with Sami Zayn. It just did. And now people are saying, okay, we kind of want after 3 years to do something else. And that's not. And then Paul Heyman tries to sell it and says, "Hey, we're in the 3rd inning. No, your ass better be in the 8th inning because I'm getting bored of it."
Yeah, you need to be wrapping this up soon.
Yeah. Get to the closer, dude. We need to wrap it up because it's not rewarding anymore. And this is the first time now where people are sitting in the chair going, I kind of don't care anymore about the bloodline. And that's kind of where it's at with me now. I've shifted to LA Knight. When is Cody winning the belt? And some of the tag team. The bloodline, I am off the bandwagon of I don't care about Jay versus Jimmy. It sucks, but that's what they did.
If you wanted to do something funky and you wanted to add a little sizzle to it, right? You could have had Solo be the one to turn on Roman, and you could have had Solo come out to be the one to help Roman, and then when Roman hit him with the spear, you could have had him just absolutely lose his freaking mind and him just thumb Roman in the neck. And then you could have Jay go and try to cover him. And you could have Roman kick out and then work in your angle of Jay basically having everything but the kitchen sink thrown at Roman Reigns, but he still can't overtake him. And Jay is just left, I don't know what else I can do. What else can I give? I've given everything I've got. And then you could spin this off into a Roman Solo feud if you really wanted to. Because what the hell is Roman Reigns doing right now? After Friday Night SmackDown, doesn't look like he's doing a whole lot of anything. You know what I'm saying? I get that you wanted to work Jay and Jimmy into a story, but I don't even know if we've got that going on right now because of what we got on SmackDown. So this was just, I just don't think it was great creatively. I don't think this worked out well. I don't think anybody was left really fulfilled. It was frustrating. You know what this pay-per-view was? This pay-per-view was the hot girl in high school that you chased for years, and she wouldn't give you the time or day, or you didn't have the courage to work up to go talk to her. And in your brain, you worked her up to being an absolute 14, when in real life, she was like a 7. And then one night, you guys end up meeting up at you come back for a high school reunion or something like that, and you're in your hometown, and you end up taking her to the hotel, and you go to do the nasty. And you know what? It just isn't good. She just lays there. She doesn't get wet enough. She doesn't give you anything else. And you don't even finish, and it's just horrible. That's what this pay-per-view was. This pay-per-view was bad sex, and that's what this is. And from bad sex, we both get a point for LA Knight because, and I take a point in the overall for the Logan Paul win. So, Jock is still trailing Doc 5.5 to 6.5 and calling the card. Let's just move into everything else that is wrestling because we've spent way too much time talking about this pay-per-view. I think the big thing from Raw, Nakamura turns heel and is now entering into a feud with Seth Rollins. I think this is awesome. I think this is fantastic. I thought they did a really good job foreshadowing this leading up to this match.
Yes.
I am pumped up for heel Nakamura. I think this could be the best version of Nakamura we get. I think we get some of his best matches with Seth Rollins. Where are you at with this? It sounds like you are in agreement with me.
Yeah, fresh new opponent and somebody that you now realize that was, first of all, got the big win against Bronson, and you're like, whoa, that was surprising. And now to see what the tease that everybody thought was like, okay, we could live with this, and then it happened. The other highlight for me of Raw, I loved the LA Knight Miz promo. I thought it was 8 minutes of glory. Yeah. LA flub, but in the end, you realize
he recovered.
He recovered. It was great because it was real. And his line where he says, no, you were soft and I wasn't going to take no mess. That was the real dude talking about his journey, 20 years. Yep. And he said, look, dude, you had a 20-year head start and I went my path and it was rocky, but here I am and I'm on my way to the main event. And I thought that was perfect because there were elements of the real person and his struggle, and there were elements of The Miz, obviously. But here's the problem. The Miz has been disrespected in every fucking feud he's been in. Everybody that he feud, they need to just have, I want my spot, and you're the guy that's going to take me there. You don't need to say you're the flavor of the month. You don't need to put LA Knight down. This one was so easy. All The Miz has to say is, I want in anything I do in this company to be the best. And you look like you're the person that's in my way to get to Seth Rollins. So you're next. You're the stepping stone. That's how I'm going to treat you. And you got to have that. You don't need the air of supremacy combined with the lack of respect. I'm tired of we all know The Miz is disrespected. We all know The Miz has been thrown out of the locker room. We all know the dude's story. When you bring it up in every fucking feud you have, you just need to say you're the stepping stone. I don't even think that you're on my radar. I just need to go through you so that I can have my opportunity. Let's go. And I get it. But in the end, it's great. It just feels less than. I just think that, fuck it. Life is short. LA Knight should be going up against Seth Rollins. LA Knight should be making moves against Gunther. You can tease stuff that's big. But in the end, The Miz will be a great feud, and I guess it's the start of LA Knight's push where the man shows up on every show and does his thing with the whole world saying, LA Knight, baby.
Yeah. I think you're right, though. Look, LA Knight in The Miz, this is kind of the litmus test for him at this moment in time. If he's already gone toe-to-toe with him verbally. Miz does a very good job on the microphone, so he's already gone toe-to-toe with him verbally. If they can put together a hell of a match, I think in the eyes of the people in the back, this helps elevate LA Knight.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. I'm here for it. I'm interested in it. We got a new U.S. champ on SmackDown.
Wow.
Rey Mysterio is your new U.S. champ instead of Santos Escobar and over Austin Theory. Was this a good call? To me, it feels like Rey Mysterio is there to help get people over, get a guy over like Santos Escobar. I feel like it would have meant more if Santos Escobar was your U.S. champ instead of Austin Theory. I don't know if this was the right direction. I'm throwing a flag on this. Where are you at with this?
Well, here's the thing. And I thought, like you said, you were waiting 35 minutes. Well, I waited about 45 minutes, and I was directly next to Ford Field. That's how crazy it was. I look at it, and I say, wait a minute. You know what? The greatest question that was asked of Triple H, because I listened to the presser, a reporter asked a great question, a real journalist. Now, he asked it in kind of a honky-tonk way, and everybody kind of knows the guy because I guess he's, been trying to, negotiate terms. And then these guys every content creator is always trying to network with the big company to do more stuff, and I get it, but it blurs the line. But I thought Bill Apter asked the best question. He's like, and he didn't follow up with the point that would have hit Triple H in the gut. He said, why is the U.S. title not being defended on this pay-per-view? Why is Austin Theory in the pay-per-view? Why is Austin Theory in this pay-per-view? Why is he in the Battle Royal? And Triple H went deadpan and he said, well, he's trying to win and throw other people out. And he said, look, this is the situation that he was in and this is the opportunity that he had. We can't put everything on the card. But what he didn't follow up with is, well, Triple H, how do you value a title that hasn't been defended on a PLE for 4 straight PLEs? 4! So that would have been the gut punch that would have maybe made him answer the question the right way instead of being storyline driven. I just thought that, you know what? Great. Have Rey Mysterio beat Austin Theory in a match at SummerSlam. I mean, like, what would have been the harm in having that happen? I felt like we were wasting an opportunity to have a surprise that would have been really epic at SummerSlam as opposed to what we got. My first thought was this would have been fucking cool in Detroit. Rey Mysterio getting a pop, a legend, that would have been a true surprise because nobody and their mom thought that was going to happen. I thought it would have been cool. And I just thought that, yeah, exactly. Look, you're never going to go wrong putting over Rey Mysterio. I just now want to see what's going to happen for me, what's going to happen with Theory. What does he do next?
Yeah, to me, look, I get it. I feel like this whole build with Austin Theory and Santos was set up for Friday night. And you end up kind of swerving us with Rey Mysterio taking his place. It just, to me, it doesn't sit well because I feel like Santos has the ability to be a star. You just have to give him the tools. If you don't give him the tools, he's just going to be this mid-card dude and he won't ever get any further than that. He has the ability to be more. Give him a chance. Let him be more. We'll see what happens. We'll see kind of where this goes. Rey Mysterio being champ, cool. I'm here for it, I guess. We'll see what takes place. I guess the big thing of the night, right? The big thing coming out of that pay-per-view is now what's going to happen with Jey Uso. Well, Jey super kicked everybody. Super kicked Roman, super kicked Solo, even super kicked Jimmy. And then he announces that he's out of the bloodline, he's done with SmackDown, and he's done with WWE. I was left scratching my head, and I muttered, what does this mean? What does this mean? What is going to happen next? Where do you see this going, and what do you think happens next? Like, is Jey going to be written off TV for a while? Is Jey going to maybe go to Raw? Is Jey just going to show up when he wants to show up and kind of, are they going to maybe do this whole Crow Sting thing where he's kind of always lurking in the background on SmackDown, but he's not really doing anything? Like, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities here. Like, you basically wrote yourself into a corner, and you've done a very nice job writing yourself out of a corner here because you've got a lot of options. You have a lot of directions you can go. Again, Roman's got nothing going on, so whatever. Jimmy ate all of Jay's foot, which was pretty cool and I think well-deserved after all the BS. I don't know what we do here. I don't know where we're going. So where do you think we go?
We have the triple threat at Survivor Series. It's Jimmy versus Roman versus Solo, and Jey comes back. Does he get his revenge on Jimmy? No! He aligns with his brother who whooped his ass and is like, I deserved it. And they go back and they reunite again at Survivor Series, and they turn on Solo this time. And I mean, I have no clue where this is going to go. I mean, first of all, when we got the alert, because I was at the Lions game, when I got the alert of what the hell Jimmy said to Jey, I thought it was the worst written thing I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It was like, that is, like, I would have just went with, I'm jealous. Like, what the fuck? Just go with what everybody was saying, like, this is stupid, I'm jealous, or I don't want you being the tribal chief. To go with whatever the fuck they tried to go with was really stupid.
I didn't want you to become like him.
Exactly. Yeah. It was horrible. Yeah, it was bad. It was just like, they're just trying new ways to swerve people. And I'm like, okay, I'm over it. I'm not, I was more focused on some of the botches and AJ Styles and other stuff that happened in LA Night cooking.
So, you know what? Let's just move away from this because I don't know what the hell this is going to be. You don't know what this is going to be. We're here for it, but whatever. You had, I woke up to a couple messages from you this morning because you took in SmackDown after the Lions game. And you were like, what the fuck? I've never seen so many botches in an AJ Styles match. What the hell is going on? And I said to you before we started recording, I was like, I feel like AJ Styles and Karrion Kross have chemistry. It just, for some reason, doesn't work in the ring. What's your thoughts on AJ Styles and Karrion Kross? And isn't it time we move away from this feud? Because when this match started, I was like, we're doing this again? I was like, shit, I don't want to watch this.
Exactly. And there's an account on Twitter called AEW Botches, and it just had a feel of exactly how that plays out, where the AJ Styles jump off the rope DDT just didn't fly, and then it just felt like Karrion Kross was just a beat off on a step behind the move that was set to call this. The spots, two spots, basically back to back. It looked like they were tripping over each other, and that's what a real botch looks like, is when two dudes try to make a move happen and it just looks clunky. And at that point, they stayed on it too long. They didn't cut to the crowd. They didn't cut in the way that everybody wanted. So it was just like, oh, what a disappointing end to that feud. One of the reasons I popped at SummerSlam was that they played AJ Styles music, so I was real happy there. And I would have clamored for LA Knight and AJ Styles. But it just, they got to move away from it. AJ Styles deserves greatness. I mean, the man is just great. So when you have a mistake, it's quite noticeable.
Yeah, I don't know why we keep going back and forth to this match. It doesn't make any sense to me. Hopefully this gets figured out sooner than later. Let's transition to AEW. I don't have it on our sheet, but I believe it wasn't last week. Last week was the fight for the championship belt that CM Punk holds. I do want to get your take on CM Punk saying that he is the real AEW champ and then spray painting the belt with an X. Where are you at with that, and what are your thoughts on it? We all kind of know how I feel about CM Punk. I'll see where this goes. I originally thought that what we were going to set up for is a title belt unification where you've got MJF taking on CM Punk, and maybe you go heel CM Punk and you go babyface MJF. That was what I was thinking. We might still be able to do that. I don't really know. What are your thoughts with one Collision having this rogue championship? And that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it a rogue championship. And CM Punk proclaiming that he is the real AEW champ.
Yeah, it's probably one way to go. Not all that terribly surprising since he didn't lose it. So I'm all for it. I think it's good. It also gives basically it's a cheap version of like the Universal title and the title. It's like we have a title on Collision, and that's fine. I didn't really want. I mean, the X on the AEW belt looks stupid. I'm not down for that at all. I just think you just bring the belt out and you have another belt because MJF changed the original belt and made it the Burberry belt. So now you can have the original classic shiny belt and keep it moving. So I'm okay with it. Collision's been steadily getting better with the promos and the production. So I'm impressed with it. And I liked how Ricky Starks is getting some rub working with CM Punk. So they're doing their thing. The numbers are steadily kind of holding around. But now they got to take the next step and build toward All In and make sure that show is the show that kicks off the end of the year because it has the potential to be the biggest thing the company has ever seen because they've sold a shit ton of tickets.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. I hope there's a long-term story, and I hope this just isn't like a thing.
Yeah.
Let's get into Dynamite. I thought AEW Dynamite was fine for the most part. I feel like match placement and I felt like pacing with this show was off.
Yes.
I felt like it was, if you would have rearranged this, it could have been a really good show. Instead, It was just a show. Didn't really give us anything. It just kind of was eh. So what I'd like to do instead is I'd like to have a conversation with you about Adam Cole and MJF because I feel like they were the highlight of this program. And again, I felt like this program could have been much better, but these two guys have been great the last couple weeks. And they now have two matches at All In. And All In is coming up very shortly. And basically what I wanted to ask you is kind of where you feel about this idea I have, where we turn Adam Cole heel and we turn MJF face. And I think what you've been getting on Dynamite with the interactions between the two, Cole has shown a progressively more heel bias. If you go back to what we've seen on Wednesday where he allowed MJF to use the dodgeball on the little girl, that's a heel move. Him getting very upset with when Roddy came out and he basically pushes MJF and they kind of get into the stare down and then MJF kind of backs up, says, hey, my bad. Him backing up, that's kind of a face move. MJF, that's kind of that's a more of a face move while Adam Cole is pissed. And then he's like, let's just hug it out. Like that is a babyface move trying to keep the peace. What do you think we do here? Do you think that we have Adam Cole turn heel? And do you think we have MJF turn face? And this is something I just kind of want to put into the water real quick. This is an idea I had. With them having two matches at All In, their first match is going to be a tag match for the ROH championships. I think you can have a double turn in that match against Aussie Open. I think you can have Adam Cole turn heel in this match. and either allow MJF to get beat down or beat down MJF, because they have the main event later on in the evening where Adam Cole is going for that championship belt. What do you think about all of that? One, the double turn, and then two, the two matches that they have at All In, and using those to kind of springboard that change.
Yeah. First and foremost, I just want to give a real quick recap of Dynamite, which is I just thought that the setup of the women's tournament is god awful. I mean, the champ has to get
horrible.
The champ has
you want to talk about knee-jerk reactions?
Yeah, the champ.
A couple weeks ago, they had that sign, book the women's division better, and then they put a women's match in the main event, didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
You go back to this week, put a women's match in the main event, didn't deserve to be there. It's just, you need to book your women's division way better.
Yes.
But your knee-jerk reaction is absolute shit for your television program.
Yeah, the heel has to, in my mind, has to cash in a rematch to get into a four-way. That makes no sense. And then the champion has to qualify. Okay, that made no sense. And it was like, did someone get high here when they tried to make this up? Should have been the other way around. It should have been like Tony Storm needed to qualify and handle business. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? So that was just disastrous. Now, for me, also, I'm pissed off, too, because you have MJF and Adam Cole that are going to be in the main event. You think a match with Aussie Open is just going to be the safe spot with limited risks in the spots? You could basically injure. Look, you have 85,000 people potentially wanting to see Adam Cole and MJF. You have one sprained ankle, one move out of order, and now your main event's in jeopardy. That match does not need to happen in any capacity. I think it's really risky, and I just think that the opportunity that you have to cheer and celebrate Adam Cole and MJF now is cheapened because you're going to pop for them early. I just think that it's just pointless and really kind of dumb booking to have the match at all. Just have it the week before or the week after. But in the end, you're right. I just think that the match does need something. It's just kind of weird the way they've done this. Well, where MJF did now kind of set up a little bit of a tension with Adam Cole. But I just think that they need to revert back to where they were. I think Adam Cole is going to serve the company better as a babyface because MJF is better as a heel than he's not even believable with all these antics because everybody believes right now that he's going to turn at some point. But I just thought that the starting of the dissension maybe can happen in that match, and I know you can do some things where maybe Adam Cole and Roderick Strong maybe do something that makes it so that like you can use that tag match to kind of elevate the main event. But in the end, I just think that it would have just been better served to just go back to throughout the match where Adam Cole's cheer, because I think the crowd's going to cheer Adam Cole and boo MJF.
So this is the thing. And I don't know if you realize this. I don't know if a lot of people realize this. We've got All In one weekend, and the following weekend we've got All Out. Like, you've got a monster pay-per-view, one of the biggest pay-per-views in AEW history, coming up, and I believe it's 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that will then be followed by their flagship pay-per-view of All Out the following week. Like, the way that they have this set up,
it's tough.
Not great. And that leads to what you're saying, is you could have Adam Cole, MJF, have this match against Aussie Open, because everybody's in for them being a tag team. You can then have them main event All Out the following weekend if you wanted to. Like, the way that this has been booked and the way that this has been set up doesn't show a lot of forethought. It really feels like you are trying to, again, this is what AEW does. They have 10 pounds of shit and they want to stuff it into a 5-pound bag, and that's kind of what you're getting here. So look, I get what you're saying. I think it'd be a really cool swerve if it went Cole heel, MJF face. But I do agree with what you're saying, where you don't need to do this. You don't need to do all of this. You've got 2 monster pay-per-views coming up back-to-back weeks. You can pace this out and you could spread it out, and they don't. So we'll see what happens. I want to get your show of the week because we are running incredibly long tonight. Show of the week, I'm going to give it to SmackDown. I'm not sure where you're at. I thought Raw was very good. I thought Dynamite was kind of a mess. Collision is whatever Collision's going to be. Rampage is what Rampage is. NXT was decent, and Impact was okay. But I'm going to go with SmackDown this week.
Yeah, absolutely. SmackDown was the show of the week. LA Knight's over. He's got the crowd in his hand. It was a great show.
All right, you want some news and notes before we get out of here?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
These two big names are done with WWE. Heading into SummerSlam, we knew Ronda Rousey had a hard out with her contract, and her last match with Shayna Baszler was it. She is now done in WWE, but Brock Lesnar is also said to be taking some time away from WWE. The final moments of the Cody Rhodes match was unscripted, and Brock putting over Cody was something that Triple H basically came out and said was, that was not written. That was all Brock doing Brock. Now, reports are Brock will not be back until 2024. According to Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio, he's going to be gone for a while, no time soon as far as the next 4 months or something like that. He's not going to be on anything at that point. He'll be back for Mania season. He's coming back, so that's the situation with him. With two people leaving, this WWE champion is coming back. News started to circulate on Saturday last week that Kairi Sane was coming back to the WWE. According to the latest update from Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer, Kairi is expected to return to WWE in November, maybe, after she finishes up her bookings in Japan. Kairi Sane has been with Stardom in Japan since she has left WWE. She's always maintained a very good relationship with WWE. This AEW star sounds like he has made it official. Per PW Insider, Brian Pillman Jr. is slated to be at the August 8th WWE NXT taping in Orlando. Pillman will be at the taping. Doesn't mean, obviously, he's going to appear on the show, but he is believed to have signed with the company following his tryout. Does WWE have a cursed title? The WWE Women's Tag Team belt will be up in the air again, as Sonya Deville will be out with an injury. Deville suffered a torn ACL to her left leg during her match on the July 28th episode of SmackDown versus Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. The nature of the injury means Deville will likely be out of action for at least 6 months, possibly longer. This isn't the first time an injury has derailed a women's tag team. Remember Dakota Kai, Ronda Rousey, and Liv Morgan working in that division, all around that title situation, and all suffering injuries. On top of that, the title hasn't gotten a proper run since Sasha Banks and Naomi dropped them on their way out the door. Feels kind of bad because I was really hoping Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green could really give these a little bit of legitimacy, give these a bit of a run. It's not going to happen. Sticking with tag teams and injuries, the men's WWE tag team is banged up. Kevin Owens obviously out with a fractured rib. And this week we've seen an angle where JD McDonough attacks Sami Zayn. This was all done to write him off as he has a legit elbow injury. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer addressed Zayn's injury, saying the attack from McDonough was to cover up for a bursa sac injury. It's so swollen, he had a golf ball size swell. It's not known how this will impact the title picture, as both are banged up and need time to heal. Not sure if they're going to be written off or if they're going to have to relinquish their titles. Now, the Elite almost ended up in WWE. Speaking on Swerve Strickland's Swerve City podcast, Matt and Nick Jackson said that they really weren't sure where the group would end up. They only knew that they were sticking together. Matt said, "We didn't know. I don't read any of it, but I know people are thinking, oh, how surprising the Elite re-signed. Bro, we didn't even know if we were going to re-sign. We all negotiated together as a team. The votes did not line up every time. There were a lot of emotions in the last year, and as the world knows, so one day this person's voting to leave, this person's voting to go. We weren't even on the same page the whole time. Things got complicated when Matt was thinking about calling it quits. Nick reveals that at one point Matt was considering retirement. Nick said, I had to talk him out of that. While WWE was reportedly interested in all four members of the Elite, they supposedly had specific interest in Kenny Omega. Lots of congratulations to this AEW star and this WWE star. AEW star Buddy Matthews and WWE star Rhea Ripley announced their real-life engagement. Ripley posted a picture showing her new ring on her left hand on Instagram, along with a caption that says, 100 times yes, pure effing happiness. Congrats to the two. They have been dating for a few years now while they work in separate companies. Bray Wyatt is in line for a mega bounce back. It has emerged that the illness that is preventing Bray Wyatt from appearing on WWE TV since March was life-threatening, according to reports. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful provided another update saying, without specifically naming what it is, because I'm sure he will in the future when he's ready, it was a very, very serious illness that has left him hospitalized and quite frankly threatened his career and his life. Fortunately, as of now, it does not look like it will threaten either his career or his life, which is very, very good news. This comes after Fightful had reported that Wyatt is getting closer to a return to the ring, and there have been creative ideas presented from him. September has been mentioned as a possible return timeframe, but Wyatt needs to get medically cleared, so that date is not confirmed yet. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my brother.
Man, make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Why couldn't the universe clamor? It would have been great at the end of the pay-per-view to have Bray Wyatt come out. He just comes out. And the stars didn't align for the surprises to happen at SummerSlam. But in the end, it was a great opportunity to recap everything. A great night of professional wrestling, despite what anybody thought it was SummerSlam in Detroit. Let's hope that it's not another 20 years before Mania Slam, or maybe hopefully now it's the Royal Rumble that comes to Detroit. Because always a great opportunity to break down the world of wrestling. Make sure you follow Adam again on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. One of the great wrestling minds, definitely has a deep analysis and understanding of how things should go in the world of professional wrestling. For the mouth-breathing mouth of Macomb, I'm John Macaroon. Let's get after it, because next week's going to be fun. You're going to wait for a little bit, so I'm going to hold it down. But when you come back-to-back pay-per-view breakdowns, the next couple weeks are going to be great. Always in the world of professional wrestling. Don't miss a thing. Tune in to each and every episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.